Tonight on CTV News, it's been a long time coming, but finally 6 designs are released for the Canterbury Earthquake Memorial. Tributes flow for a well-respected Christchurch teacher and gay rights activist. And how well is the rebuild of Christchurch going? Dion Swiggs joins us.
Broadcasting across Canterbury, from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Good evening. A veil of tears, a ribbon of walls and a sonic garden are some of the shortlisted designs for the Canterbury Earthquake Memorial. 6 designs for the $11 million project are now open for public consultation. More than 330 submissions were received from 37 countries for the Avon River Memorial, and Marcus Gibbs has the details.
4 years ago this Sunday, 185 people were killed in a major earthquake in Christchurch. 115 of those people were in the CTV building when it collapsed. 16 of them were Marianne Jackson's close friends and colleagues. The CTV receptionist was the only survivor from the television station to make it out of the building as it came down behind her. 4 years on, the government has now announced the 6 shortlisted designs for the $11 million Canterbury Earthquake Memorial.
It's taken a while. We have fought long and hard to get to this stage.
Today's announcement, a fitting tribute to the victims, 1 week out from the anniversary of their deaths.
All the families are pleased and they all think they're lovely, they're very nice.
Marianne has already chosen her preferred design, one that she believes will provide the best place for the victims' families to visit.
Well, I just think it's more individual and it's lovely for the families that on their birthdays or Christmas they can actually put in, I presume they'll be able to put in a candle or a little posy of flowers.
The public now has a chance to have their say on the designs. Once chosen, it will be built here, on the bank of the Avon River. The site was formally chosen last July.
I think it's a particularly good site. First of all, it's beautiful. Secondly, it's very accessible to everyone and it's versatile and it can accommodate both the option of 1 or 2 people or a family reflecting or a group of people for some sort of event.
The memorial will honour the victims of Canterbury's earthquakes and acknowledge the suffering of all those who lived through them, as well as the heroism of those who participated in the rescue and recovery operations.
It was most important and indeed appropriate from the Council's perspective that these members of our community, including family members from overseas, were involved in the development of the memorial from the outset. Their shared desire for a memorial to incorporate a natural space with greenery and water can be clearly seen.
More than 330 submissions were received from 37 countries after designs were sought. Victims' families have already consulted on the designs which were chosen late last year.
They were so exciting and then people looking at those felt enormously humbled about the time, energy and the compassion, the thought and the care that went into those designs.
Christchurch Mayor Leanne Dalzell says this is an important step towards having a memorial space that will mean so much to so many people here and around the world. The chosen memorial will be a special place for decades to come. 4 years on, life isn't getting easier for the victims' families.
It's every day for them, so it doesn't get any easier.
The shortlisted designs will be on display at the Christchurch Botanic Gardens, as well as the CCDU website. Feedback can be given until March 15. Earthquake Recovery Minister Jerry Brownlee will make the final decision. The memorial will open in 2016. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
Well, it's been an incredibly busy day for Christchurch Police today, with 2 armed offender call-outs and mysterious gunshots.
It's been a busy day for Christchurch Police, with a number of chases in the city's southwest. A driver fled his blue Nissan vehicle at around lunchtime today after the car chase ended at the Tower Junction shopping mall. It's believed around 15 police cars were a part of the pursuit, with the vehicle then trying to flee on foot. Barr was arrested shortly after and is now in custody. The Armed Offenders Squad helped assist police in the arrest, but it wasn't the only call-out for them today. Earlier this morning at 10:55, the squad stormed Barrington Mall, where another separate chase ended at the entrance of the shopping centre. There's believed to have been 2 people in the vehicle, with cordons being put up in the area, which are now down. And last night, an unusual gunshot was heard in a quiet street in Addington. The heavy presence of police were at the Parade Court property just off Lincoln Road, where gunshots were heard at around 10:15 last night. Canterbury District Commander Superintendent Gary Knowles says a scene investigation was underway at that time to determine what was going on. A cordon was up until early this morning and the investigation is continuing. Police have not commented further on the incidents.
And just in relation to that incident, we understand police have just made an arrest to that as well. Well, in this case, Canterbury Police want help to identify these people in this images you're seeing right now. The man is wanted in connection to a sexual assault that took place in the corner of the Carlton Mill Road and Rosser Street. Those images were taken after the Electric Avenue concert in North Hagley Park on Friday the 6th of February, just after 11 p.m. The man is described as tanned, Caucasian with a heavy build, broad chest, in his early 30s with short black hair and between 5'10" and 6 foot. He was wearing long shorts with a dark coloured belt at the time. Police want to speak to anyone who may know that man or anyone in the area, and you can see those images again on my Facebook page at facebook.com/lynchnz. Well, to the day's other big story now, tributes are flowing from across the globe for PPTA executive and gay rights activist Robin Dove. Robin was one of the founding members of the National Gay Rights Coalition and never stopped giving up that fight. The former Burnside High School teacher was the first openly gay man to stand for Parliament. Later, he spent 10 years working in senior roles at the Post-Primary Teachers Association. Colleagues have spoken of his love of teaching, his sense of humour and larger-than-life personality. Here's Marcus Gibbs.
With Robin, you got more than a colleague. You got someone who was a friend, who, whether your problem was related to work or your own life, he would stop what he was doing and he would take the time to actually sort it out with you. And it was done with this absolutely disarming but genuine smile the whole time.
He's been a great colleague, supportive colleague, but he's also been a wonderful man socially. You know, he always invites you to his parties. He's got this massive eclectic mix of people that he used to invite to his parties, and they were always wild and joyful and just like he was. With Robin, it was a life sort of writ large and lived large on a stage, and it was all overlaid with this wonderful warmth and humanity, and I think most people remember that he was in a constantly good mood, a genuinely good mood. He was a really gentle man, and he was known for helping people out and being there. He'd been in their corner if they needed him all the time. He was really well travelled. Every holiday it would be a different destination. So every Christmas it was somewhere, usually in the northern hemisphere, somewhere sunny. So he'd come back well rested and very well travelled. He never backed down from a fight. He didn't mind taking on Parliament. He didn't mind taking on ministers. In fact, I think he relished it, and he did a very good job and was well respected because of that.
He fought for the gay rights movement and he was the first openly gay person to stand for Parliament, but he didn't really bring that into the classroom.
During the early years, I wasn't aware of that at all. I think, however he managed the situation here, it was done alongside his work, so I would never be aware of his activism as such. But later on, as he was PPTA president and his involvement in the union, it was a bit more obvious that he was committed.
He fought for the rights of his students.
He did, and students and staff alike, he dealt with everybody the same, and I think that's what people responded to, that there was this sincerity in his dealings with people. So it didn't matter whether you were a colleague or you were in his class, and it didn't matter whether you were a current student or a past student. At any time you could approach Robin or meet him and you would just pick up where you left off. He was proud of who he was, and he made other people feel proud of who they were because he was so proud of being gay, being just who he was, and he gave a lot of other people confidence because of that. Somebody said today that he was the Oscar Wilde of teaching because everything was done with this awareness of the bigger picture. He's a missed teacher and he's a missed personality and a missed friend. He's going to be massively missed. Very, very loved man, and for good reason.
He most certainly will be missed and remembered. Well, despite earlier concerns that Housing New Zealand was failing to repair state houses on time, the organisation is now saying it's well ahead of schedule.
The agency has been tasked with repairing its housing stock, which was left severely damaged following the Canterbury earthquakes, first targeting the hardest hit suburbs in the east.
Some of those were the worst damaged houses, and of course the other utilities that people had weren't available either, so getting their homes back up and running was really important.
Despite earlier concerns over delays in the repairs, Housing New Zealand is confident its repair program will be finished by the end of the year. Broomfield's Manu Harris's home marked the halfway point for the program last October. The agency has since been working hard to stay on target.
At the end of January we clicked over just 3,200 repairs and 137 new properties built towards the target. So our target is to repair 5,000 houses by the end of the year. That's well on track. And for the new builds, as I said, we've completed 137. We've got just on 400 either being built or contracted across Canterbury, and we'll continue doing that, and we're well on track to complete that by December 2015 as well.
On top of repairing its 5,000 dwellings, Housing New Zealand is also planning to build 700 new homes in the city, creating more jobs for local contractors. More than 800 staff were working on the ground repairing the homes. It's expected that number will peak this year, with more than 1,000 contractors helping with the repairs.
It's mostly in pockets in different suburbs. We're moving more to the west areas of Christchurch at the moment. We've completed most of the suburbs in the eastern part, so those worst affected areas, we've just about finished in there, which is good for those suburbs.
Despite major repairs being undertaken, Housing New Zealand says it's putting the needs of the tenants first.
In most cases, our tenants have stayed in the property, that's why we've worked around them. That's a hard ask for some families. Some families we have moved out of the house if we've had to do, for instance, asbestos removal. As a matter of course, we take families out when that occurs.
It's hoped by the end of the year, all the tenants like Harris will be home and housed in their new place. Emma Cropper, CTV News.
Still to come here on CTV News, it's happening, the catchphrase first coined by Rebuild Christchurch's Dion Swiggs. So how far has the city rebuild actually come since the earthquakes 4 years ago? Dion Swiggs joins us next. Welcome back to CTV News. Well, just days out from the 4th anniversary of that devastating Christchurch earthquake, just how far has the rebuild actually come in this time? Well, joining me in the studio is Rebuild Christchurch's Dion Swiggs. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
How are things, do you think, in terms of the rebuild? Give us a general overview on what you're seeing happening.
4 years on, we've got a city of two halves. So we've got the east with devastation still and repairs for insurance, whatnot going on. And then in the west we have people that are relatively unscathed and a bit of rebuilding happening. So we are in the city of two halves, and this residential sector is starting to hum along. 2015 also you're starting to see a lot more happening within the central city.
I don't want to sound like a positivity theory, but it does seem like things are things are happening. You look at the residential rebuilds out in the east. I'm seeing plenty of rebuilds going on. You look inside the central city, yes, it is happening, but it has seemed painstakingly slow. And I put that slowness down to some of the bureaucracy inside the CCDU. Am I being too unkind there, Dion?
The last 3 years has been a planning nightmare. Obviously, there's been a lot of change within the ground. I mean, we didn't know where the ground state was. We didn't know there was going to be liquefaction in places that there's been liquefaction. So building a whole city with massive buildings on top of this ground, there needed to be a lot of planning in process, so new foundation types and these things. Then there was the infrastructure work, so a lot of the infrastructure work needed to happen before the above the ground work started. So we're about 60% of the way through the infrastructure work throughout the entire city, 85% to 90% within the central city. So most of that work is going to be finished by the middle of this year in the central city.
There is a good feel. I feel like, because I'm in the central city, it feels like things are actually happening. It feels like 2015, we are going to see a lot more development. I say that sincerely. It seems to me, Dion Swiggs, every weekend I'm seeing more and more buildings popping up. Are you getting that same sense?
Last year we've been working on a lot of the organisations around the Christchurch rebuild, And a lot of the planning was coming to an end in 2015, and that's why we coined the term "It's Happening," to get the sense of what's going on in Christchurch.
Just take a look at these images here we've got up on the screen now. What you're seeing here are the images just released from the CCDU of the 6 designs for the Earthquake Memorial. What do you reckon the reaction to these will be like? I know it seems like a long time coming, but essentially a step in the right direction to get something for the families whose family members died.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good step forward for especially those 185 victims of people that died within the earthquakes, and also the people that lost other, family members and after the earthquakes, and all the stuff that we've lost. People lost all their homes. This is moving forward. This is going to be built in the end of 2000. Opened in 2016. I think it's a really good step forward, and as you saw on the news before, people are going to get a sense of what the city's going to look forward, what it's going to look like in the future, and we're going to have a chance to engage in that, so we can actually choose which one we want. So,
do you worry, like the Christchurch Mayor has in the past, suggesting there are not enough investment opportunities to hug the anchor projects?
It does seem to be quite slow. The whole other anchor projects, the other investments around those anchor projects. But if you look at the likes of Victoria Street, you look at the likes of Durham Street, look at all the investment going on down there, the buildings that are starting to go. If you look down Hereford Street, you come in from the east, it's actually starting to look like a city again. The street, you've got building on one side, bigger buildings on the other side. It is actually starting to look like a city again. And over time, these new buildings are going to open up. We're going to have people back into the city. And what the big thing is, you're going to need people to actually create investment back into the city. So once there's a feel of people starting to have that vibrancy within the central city, other investment will start to follow. And then they're going to have the residential sector, which is the CCDU, starting to look at the residential plans, and they're going to start being developed over later this year. Hopefully we'll find out what's going on there by May or June. So the city will recover in time, and this is the year that it's actually crunch time as far as we see, and it needs to happen.
It seems to me the tone of the city too, and that's probably reflected on my show and also what you see on your rebuildchristchurch.co.nz website. The tone, I feel, is changing, one of positivity. Yes, we still have to accept there are still many people in the city going through insurance-related issues, EQC issues, but I do feel we have a responsibility when it comes to the media to tell the good stories as well, to keep this thing in perspective. And I don't mean to be disrespectful for those that continue to have earthquake insurance-related issues. Has the tide turned from what you're seeing, the feedback you get on your Facebook and pages, for example?
We really took a turn around the middle of last year to say, look, it's happening. We need to start talking about what is actually going on. And most of our audience look at what's going on and they share that and they get excited. Yes, there are people still dealing with insurance issues. We're only around 60% of the way through the insurance settlements for people that are in the complex land.
Just finally, I mean, you were the first person to catch that phrase, it's happening. There is a real sense in this city. I know Leanne Dalzell's using it now. It is happening, isn't it? 10 seconds.
Yes, it is happening. We are rebuilding.
Excellent. Dion Swicks from rebuildchristchurch.co.nz. Thank you for your time this evening. And you can head to the website, rebuildchristchurch.co.nz. Well, yesterday we brought you the story of the robot which is betting big on Afghanistan. Yes, Afghanistan winning the Cricket World Cup. And due to some technical issues, we've now got that story fixed. So here it is with Marcus Gibbs.
14 teams all hoping to take this trophy home. The Cricket World Cup launches Thursday night, and a winner will be among the teams taking part in the international competition. Already 5,000 bets have been placed, and the TAB is expecting another 300,000 to be lodged by the end of the tournament. And as it turns out, a robot at the University of Canterbury may hold the answers you need to win big. The university's robot made the decision by looking at various countries' flags.
So the robot predicts that Afghanistan is a possible winner of the Cricket World Cup.
However, the TAB statistics show that the chances of Afghanistan winning are 300 times less likely than the top contender, Australia. If you bet just $1 on Afghanistan and it wins the cup, you'll take home $1,002. Granted, this is the first time the university's robot has made a sporting prediction, but during the 2010 FIFA World Cup, Paul the Octopus received worldwide attention as an animal oracle for his predictions. So that was the justification for HitLab PhD student Eduardo Sandoval to put the robot in front of the flags of the 14 countries. When CTV last spoke to the organiser of the World Cup, New Zealanders didn't seem too optimistic about the Middle Eastern countries' winning chances.
All the Black Caps matches for the Cricket World Cup are sold out, with the exception of New Zealand versus Afghanistan in Napier.
And on the streets of Christchurch, it was almost too hard to find anyone who thought Afghanistan had any hope winning the Cricket World Cup.
Extremely unlikely.
I don't think so.
I don't believe in those sort of predictions.
Anything can happen, mate, but most likely not.
Oh well, good for them if they do, isn't it?
Probably good for them if they did. You can't put anything down to robotics.
Despite the lack of optimism, Eduardo says with cricket, the outcome can always be unexpected. So Chris, maybe it's time to place a bet. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
I don't gamble, Marcus. Well, still to come here on CTV News, your region's weather. Welcome back to CTV News. Now an update on our story yesterday. Environment Canterbury says it's found no wrongdoing by three men who built a small dam at the Periora River in South Canterbury. Locals thought the men had built a dam to rig water flow levels in a bid to stop ECAN from enacting irrigation restrictions on nearby farms. Three men had denied being in the area. ECAN now says while damming did still occur, it accepts it was only to reinstate a partially blocked river channel. However, the organisation has not said who was responsible for actually doing this. And now it's time for your weather.
Good evening, Canterbury. Looking at today's temperatures, Timaru, Temuka and Geraldine. A warm day for you, 23 degrees. Ashburton, it was a cooler day on 22. Methven, slightly warmer on 23. Rakaya, 22. Darfield, 23. Leeston and Rolleston, you shared a high of 22 degrees. Lincoln, 22. Christchurch, 21 degrees. Over in Akaroa now, it was a nice and mild day for you, sitting on 22 today. Further north, Rangiora, Kaiapoi and Amberley, you all shared a high of 23. The warmest places to be today in Canterbury, Culverden, Hamner Springs and Cheviot, a warm 24 degrees. And at the top, Kaikoura on 21. Taking a look at tomorrow's weather now, Timaru, there will be another fine day ahead for you with some warmer temperatures and northeasterly winds. Some high cloud will develop later on in the day. Tonight's low is 9, tomorrow's high 26 degrees. Ashburton, tomorrow it'll be sunny at first, but there will be some high cloud increasing as the day goes on and northeasterlies dying out. Your low tonight is 9, tomorrow's high 26 degrees. To Christchurch now, it'll be warm and fine for your Wednesday with some high cloud later on and some northeasterly winds starting to creep away by the afternoon. Tonight's low is 9, your high tomorrow is 27. Kaikoura tomorrow, it'll be a mostly fine and sunny day for you with just northeasterly breezes hanging around for the whole day. Your low tonight is 9, tomorrow's high 25. Taking a look at the other areas around the region, Temuka and Geraldine, a lovely day tomorrow with sunny skies and 27 degrees. Methven and Rakaya, you share 26 tomorrow with sunny weather for you also. Darfield, Leeston, Rolleston and Lincoln, another day of sharing the temperatures together, fine and sunny, 26 for you all. Over in Akaroa now, it'll be a fine day with sunny skies all day, 26 degrees. Kaiapoi, Rangiora and Amberley, a fine day ahead for you with a warm 27, your high. Culverden, Hamner Springs and Cheviot, a very warm day tomorrow for you all, fine weather, 28 degrees. Looking ahead for Canterbury now, that fine weather will continue shining with mostly fine spells on Thursday and high cloud expected. There will also be some light winds. It'll be mostly fine and sunny on Friday with just some northeasterlies coming through. Taking a look at the weekend, the fine weather is still looking like a go-ahead for Saturday right through to Monday, with some high cloud at times and moderate northeasterly winds, but the temperatures will turn mild. And that is your weather for Tuesday.
Finally, looks like summer is back. Well, that's CTV News for Tuesday. Have a great evening.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.